Good morning. Welcome to the United States Sports Academy and our weekly sports talk program. Well, we're glad to be back in our studio this week after a couple weeks out. First of all, I'd like to really give a big thanks to Jerry Silverstein and Joe Gottfried and the staff of the Dollar General Bowl for letting us do our show there a couple weeks ago. They were awesome. We walked in the building. They said set up wherever you want, and they made it available to us. If you have a chance to go back and watch it, please do so. We were able to interview the head coach for both teams, the athletic director for both teams, the star quarterback for Troy, star wide receiver from Ohio University, and and Mr. Silverstein, the president of the bowl. So it was really a good outing for us. Plus we got free lunch.
Yeah,
which is never a bad thing. But we're back in our studio this week, and we want to wish everybody a happy New Year, and hope you all have a wonderful 2017. Hope your sports teams do well this year, as long as they're not University of Alabama. I got to get my Auburn plug in there every now and then. Today, what we're going to do is talk a little bit about the upcoming NFL playoffs, and I'm sure we'll sneak in a comment or two about the college football championship game. With me today is Mr. Ben Billman, one of our doctoral teaching assistants, a Big Ten fan, and Dr. Brett Simmermacher, our chair of sports coaching, an Ohio State fan who obviously was out sick yesterday with what we were calling the Buckeye flu after the results of that bowl game. For us down here in Southeast Conference country, we didn't fare much better in the bowls than the Big Ten did, but the SEC still has a chance to claim the championship next Monday night when they play Clemson, which should be a great game. Well, this week we start the NFL playoffs. 4 wild card games, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. And then, of course, the number 1 and 2 seeds in each conference have a bye this week. Get a little bit more healthy and get prepared for home games next week. So what we'll do this morning is we'll just go through our games this week. We'll make our predictions on the 4 games this week, and then we'll make our predictions on the Super Bowl, who we think will be in the Super Bowl and who we think will win it. You can't exactly pick games in the NFL playoffs because they reseed after the wild card games. For example, New England will play the lowest remaining seed, so if there's an upset in one of the wild card games, it could move things around off of most of the published brackets you look at. So we'll just take them in order. The first game this weekend is the number 5 seed Oakland at the number 4 seed Houston at 3 p.m. our time on Saturday. Ben, who do you like in the Oakland-Houston game?
You know, the 4 games, this is probably the least exciting game for myself as I look at those. Oakland's got a backup quarterback, Connor Cook, I believe, is starting for Oakland, and Osweiler's coming back for Houston, but neither of these teams really impresses me right now. I picked Oakland, but of the 4 games, this one is the one that I didn't enjoy the most, for sure.
I'm gonna say Oakland as well. I just think they have a better defense. It's my team that I've liked since I've grown up. And with Carr going down, I don't see him going much further than after this first week. Even if they get by this first week, but I think the defense will carry him through this week. But then after that, it's going to be tough to put points on the board.
Either against New England or Kansas City next week.
Right.
You mentioned Connor Cook had a great career at Michigan State, and but last week when he had to come in when their second string quarterback got injured, I think I heard on TV the last week was the first time he actually dressed for a game.
Yeah.
He had not even dressed up until that point.
Right.
So Oakland obviously going with their third string quarterback at this point. I think a lot of folks thought that Oakland would have a chance to go far in the playoffs before Carr was injured, and they probably would have been the number 2 seed if Carr wouldn't have gotten hurt, and they would have been able to take this week off. And I think the first thing with the finger, with the week off, Carr would have been probably good to go by the divisional round. But now they're down to their 13 quarterback, and they're saying all the right things, next man up, which is what they always say. And everybody's dealing with injuries this time of year. But it's got to be rough when that's one of the things that kind of is a signature of the AFC playoffs this year. We have on one side we've got Brady and Ben Roethlisberger, you kind of got them up there. Both Brady's won 4 Super Bowls, Roethlisberger's won 2, and then you've got Alex Smith, who has won playoff games in the past, never been to the Super Bowl, but has won playoff games, and then you've got 3 people who have never even seen the field in a playoff game. The quarterbacks for Houston, Oakland, and Miami. I did. Which one did I hear? I heard one of them may be back, could be back if they make it all the way to the Super Bowl, but probably not going to happen. Although the Miami Dolphins made it to the Super Bowl one year with a backup quarterback and went undefeated, so we'll see how that works out. The second game on Saturday is Saturday night, 7 o'clock Central Time, Detroit at Seattle. Brett, who you like in that game?
I think it's going to be a great game. Detroit's played well the majority of the season, but I think Seattle being at home and in their climate, and Russell Wilson and all the star players that they have, and they've been there before, I just think they're going to beat Detroit.
Yeah, I agree. Seattle is a tough place to play in the playoffs, especially. And Russell Wilson seems to be getting better as the season progresses. Detroit, got to give them credit for making the playoffs. They have had a great season, but the atmosphere and the crowd in Seattle is going to be tough to overcome.
I forgot to throw in the first game. I also picked Oakland, so we're all 3 on Oakland on that one. I agree with you guys 100%. Detroit certainly isn't a lot of times teams come into the wild card with momentum. They will ride that momentum. Having lost the last 3 games, it's hard to say that Detroit's bringing any momentum into the playoffs. And also Seattle is has one of the best home records of anybody in the NFL for the last 3 or 4 years. The Boeing engineers, when they designed that stadium, they designed it to keep the noise in, which is, usually you think of Boeing and aircraft, they're just trying to think of ways to make them quieter, but they helped design the stadium in Seattle to keep the noise in, so really a noisy place to play. Matt Stafford dislocated the tip of his middle finger on his throwing hand 4 weeks ago, and he keeps saying it's no factor, but his completion percentage went from like 66% to 55%, and he's thrown, I think he threw 5 interceptions in the first 13 games and 5 interceptions in the last 3 games since he got hurt. So obviously that finger is affecting him. I think anytime you see a quarterback wearing a glove on their hand in an indoor stadium, that's a good indicator that it's bothering them more than they're talking about it. So I like Seattle too. So far we're all on the home teams. Going the third game at noon on Sunday is Miami at Pittsburgh. Ben, who do you like in that game?
I'm going to go Pittsburgh. Roethlisberger has the playoff experience. As we talked about earlier, I think Tomlin's one of the top 5 coaches in the NFL. And those 2 pieces, along with being at home, again, that's a tough place to win, tough place to play. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh.
I'm going to go with Pittsburgh as well. I just think they've got more experience and more pieces that will help them get past Miami. I just don't see Miami beating them in Pittsburgh.
No, if it's bad weather day, especially.
Yeah.
And going from South Florida to Pittsburgh, that I saw that one of the reporters yesterday. The Ajayi guy from Miami rushed for 208 yards against Pittsburgh earlier in the season at Pittsburgh, and they asked Mike Tomlin what was he going to tell his players about that game. What he said, what I'm going to tell them is it wasn't a lightning strike, it wasn't a fluke. The guy's good. They've got a really good offensive line, so we have to be prepared. And especially if the weather's bad, we have to stop their running game. And with their backup, Matt Moore, is that his name? Right? Something.
I believe
something
so.
more.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think it is.
he's coming in. He's backing up for Tannehill at the quarterback position, and played pretty well 2 weeks ago, but didn't play very well last week. Of course, last week they were playing against Belichick in New England, and Belichick's record against rookie quarterbacks is like staggering. I like Big Ben. I think Antonio Brown is one of the best receivers in football right now, and what's the running back's name?
Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell missed first 4 games of the season,
Yeah.
but has been coming on strong.
Yeah.
Both him and Brady, I saw on a list of top 5 MVP candidates earlier in the week, and both of them missed the first 4 games of the season for different reasons. So far we haven't had any disagreement. Let's see if we go to the last game of this weekend will be the New York Giants at the Green Bay Packers, and the New York Giants have a recent history of coming in as a 5 or 6 seed with a wild card and then doing some wonderful things in the playoffs. They'll be at Lambeau Field this coming Sunday at 4:40 p.m. is a kickoff, and of course we all understand that they'll kick off. They'll wait to kick off until the first game is over, so that they don't lose any of the television rights. But Brett, who do you like? Giants at Packers?
I like the Packers. You talked about momentum earlier, and here's a team that's been on a ride for about the last 6 or 7 weeks. I just Aaron Rodgers and playing at home in Lambeau Field. I just don't think Eli and them can do it.
Yeah, the Giants have a great balanced team, but I agree. The hottest team in football, the Packers right now. Lambeau Field, again, like I said, with Seattle, Pittsburgh, and now Green Bay, those home field advantages are tough to beat in the playoffs. So I'm going Green Bay.
Yeah, I think Green Bay's of the teams that are riding. They've won 6 in a row. They were 4 and 6, and last year. Aaron Rodgers told everybody to RELAX, and this year he told them that don't worry about it. We'll just win out, and that's what they did. So they're obviously coming in on momentum. I think more so even than Brady, Aaron Rodgers, anytime he puts on his helmet, has a chance of throwing for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. And in fact, I have Green Bay going all the way to the Super Bowl. So kind of interesting. We all 4 picked the home teams. I think throughout the.
I didn't pick the home team.
Huh?
I picked the Giants.
Well, that's because you're a Giants fan, a homer. The Giants do have a chance if Aaron Rodgers misses the bus like Lane Kiffin did last week. Played for the bus. Okay, so we've all got Pittsburgh, Oakland, Seattle, and Green Bay advancing to the next round. Who do you like going to the AFC and NFC championship game? I'll start with you, Ben.
In the AFC, I've got Kansas City and New England. I think the seeding will hold true there. In the NFC, I have Dallas beating Green Bay, and then I have Seattle going into Atlanta and winning. So I have Dallas and Seattle in the NFC championship.
So you have one visiting team winning in the second.
Yes. Yep.
Brett?
I've got Kansas City and New England winning in the AFC, and then I've got Atlanta and Dallas winning.
Okay.
I have Atlanta, too.
I've got Pittsburgh and New England on the AFC side, and Atlanta and Green Bay on the NFC side. So I'm the only one who picked Green Bay to beat Dallas. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Dallas won. One of the things that talk about home field advantage, Dallas can go all the way through the playoffs without ever leaving the state of Texas, because they got 2 home games, and then the Super Bowl this year is in Houston. So they could. I think it was it Tennessee the year that they won the national championship with T. Martin as their quarterback, where they only played 1 game outside the state of Tennessee the entire season. It was pretty phenomenal. So Dallas has that going for them. So I've got New England and Green Bay in the Super Bowl.
I've got Kansas City and Dallas.
And you've got
I've got Kansas City
Kansas
and
City and
Dallas.
I thought I was going to be
Wow.
unique in that.
And who are you picking?
I'm picking Dallas just because of their run game, and I just think that they've played as well as anybody all season long, and I think the 2 rookies are probably as good as anybody in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
And they've got a great offensive line. That's what they hang their hat on.
Ohio State could have used Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, they could have. If we'd have had Zeke, it'd have been a whole different story. But
Yeah.
yeah. But I just think that they're going to be the team to beat right now.
So you've got Dallas.
I have Kansas City. They're very balanced. They have a great defense. Nothing really stands out about them, but that I think is going to be a good thing this year. They're just a team. and I think it's Andy Reid's time to win a Super Bowl. And Kansas City had the Royals 2 years ago, and I think the Chiefs get it done this year.
Okay, I've got New England and Green Bay in the Super Bowl, and Ben and I were talking about this morning. There was a New England Green Bay Super Bowl in the '90s. Brett Favre, that was the Desmond Howard game when he went crazy, and Brett Favre had a good game, and Green Bay beat New England pretty handily. But this year, I think the Patriots get number 5 for Brady and Belichick, which will be rare, never before seen territory. You know, the Steelers have 6 Super Bowls and the Cowboys have 5, but those were all with different teams. I think it'd be unbelievable if Belichick and Brady are able to win that 5th Super Bowl. And I hope that Bob Kraft, Bill Belichick, and Tom Brady all flip Roger Goodell off and don't shake his hand at the trophy ceremony for the way he tried to hose him at the beginning of the season. I think that would be poetic justice. So interesting thing is we agreed totally in the first round, but we have 3 different teams winning the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we'll see when we come to work on Monday, February 6th. We'll see who is the closest to being right. Okay, we've got a couple minutes left here. Let's talk a little bit about the game between Clemson and Alabama next Monday night. Of course, here we're in SEC country, and a lot of Alabama fans. Alabama dominated Washington 24-7, and Clemson dominated Ohio State 31-0. Really, if you think about it, if you go back to our show at the beginning of the year, a lot of people were picking Clemson and Alabama to be in the championship game. So no real surprise there. So Clemson should have lost to North Carolina State. Guy missed like a 28-yard field goal in regulation, and then he did lose to Pitt, which turned out to be not a bad loss at all because Pitt also beat Penn State. And so Pitt had a good team. I don't know if you guys saw the special they did on the running back, and it was pretty emotional. They actually showed him getting chemotherapy and basically had the tubes going into his chest and the barf bag hooked to his face. I mean, it was pretty graphic, and just what he went through, and leaving chemotherapy at 10 o'clock at night and being on the practice field with a mask on so he wouldn't get any infection at 4:30 the following morning, running with his team. It was pretty special young man, Connor. Hopefully he does well in the NFL. But Clemson and Alabama, I'm rooting for Clemson. Obviously, as an Auburn fan, I would have to turn in my Auburn card if I rooted for Alabama. but I honestly think it'll have to go some to top last year's game. Last year's game was phenomenal. Alabama ended up winning 45-40, but I think Clemson, for the most part, outplayed them last year. Alabama had an onside kick and a 100-yard kickoff return. That 100-yard kickoff return is our game of the year portrait by Danny Moore downstairs. So, what are you guys looking for? Give me a prediction, and what do you think is going to be the keys to the game, Brett?
Well, I think it's going to be a good game. I think if Clemson plays like they did against Ohio State, but Ohio State didn't put any pressure. A chance or a game to should either be 14-0 or 6-0, and they blew that opportunity by missing 2 field goals. It's easier to play when you're even or ahead. And if they can stop Alabama, you don't know how much the Lane Kiffin stuff is going to affect Alabama. I just think it's their year. They're going to go in with a lot more confidence than Alabama does, or I feel they are, because offensively they weren't very good last week. But they played well enough to beat Washington, and I just think Clemson, if they can run the football and have that balanced attack on the offensive side, I think it's going to be a long night for the Crimson Tide.
I think the biggest factor is going to be, like you said, Jalen Hurts played very poorly against Washington. And I don't know if that was partly because of the Lane Kiffin, Sarkisian situation going on there, but it has to be playing a part.
It's got to be.
And having Kiffin out now, and like we talked about yesterday, Kiffin's the only guy that's ever been in the ear of Jalen Hurts. So now you've got Sarkisian stepping in there, and it may not affect the performance, but it very well could. And Hurts didn't show up against Washington. I think he's going to struggle against Clemson, so I'm going with Clemson as well. And I think Deshaun Watson should have been the Heisman Trophy winner, and I think he's going to prove that in the championship game.
You could make an argument that he could have been Heisman Trophy winner in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
One of the things they had on ESPN this morning, back in the day, they had the Rose Bowl from the Rose Bowl with 2005 between USC and Texas. One of the greatest games ever played. Texas was on a 19-game winning streak, and SC was on a 34-game winning streak, and people were calling USC the greatest team, greatest college football team ever. And one of the points they made is that if they would have waited till after the bowl games to vote for the Heisman Trophy, it might have been different because they may have picked Vince Young, who came in second, over Reggie Bush. I think the same thing could be said last year. If they would have waited till after the championship game, I think Deshaun Watson would have won the Heisman Trophy over Derrick Henry. And I think this year, I think it's pretty obvious if they voted for the Heisman now that I don't know who it would be, but it would not be Lamar Jackson. Which is I'm not sure why they vote on the Heisman Trophy so early, because with the playoffs now, it's a big part of the season. I like Clemson. I think Deshaun Watson will have a big game. I think one of the real keys is last year Mike Williams is a beast at wide receiver. He was hurt all of last year, didn't play, and the other wide receiver, his name escapes me right now, but he was sent home from Phoenix a couple days before the game for disciplinary reasons. So in addition to Deshaun Watson and the wonderful game he had last year, he also has his 2 starting wide receivers available this year that he didn't have last year. So I see Clemson winning. I don't think anybody blows Alabama out because of their defense, but I see Clemson winning comfortably, 10 points maybe, and we'll wait and see what happens, and then we can hear all the people in this part of the country whining on next Tuesday morning. Well, it's good to be back in our studio after an on-site show a couple weeks ago. We hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. Whatever you celebrate this time of year, we hope it went well for you. And like I said earlier, we want to wish everybody a Happy New Year and hope everybody has a great 2017 and that your teams are all successful in sports. From the campus of the United States Sports Academy in Daphne, Alabama, we'll say so long, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. Central Time. Have a great week, everyone.